depth chart week one this week? Is that trying to keep things mysterious? You mentioned earlier, just
the
unknowns.
Mysterious. We're just trying to be mysterious. Keep everybody guessing, and we got some decisions that mysterious. Ooh, it's Halloween in August. Did you do that? Did you do that? Right on cue. Give her a raise. Yeah, I mean, got a few decisions we literally may not make until pregame. So, y'all, no real need in it. Just creates more conversation than what we need to deal with right now. We'll talk about it next week. Y'all will be like, y'all ran this guy out there first. Well, you got there next. So we'll have something to talk about next week.
Welcome to Believe in Clemson Football. I am Will Vandervoort. That's Alex Dodd. The guy you just saw before us was Dabo Swinney today, talking about being mysterious. And the reason I put that up there, Alex, was because Dabo was asked the question, if you heard Chapel Fowler from State Newspaper, asked Dabo Swinney the question, why didn't y'all guys put out a depth chart yesterday? And Dabo's like, because we want to be mysterious. And you guys couldn't tell really on there, but if you look real closely on the video, the light went out right when he says we're going to be mysterious. And it was by total accident. The young lady in the back of the room, actually standing right beside who's going to be our guest tonight on the podcast, we at Qualkinbush, she's an intern for Qualk. She accidentally turned the light switch off right at the same time Dabo says, we're going to be mysterious. And so it just kind of went pretty good. I love the clip, but Dabo had me, you could hear me laughing in the back. My laugh is very noticeable. And you could hear me laughing in the background. It was a great moment. I thought that'd be a great clip just to kind of start the show with. And that's what I'm going to do every week. I'm going to throw a Dabo Swinney clip from the press conference every week to start our podcast. It's better than music or anything like that to me.
It's better than that weird little do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're kind of controlled because of the YouTube police. And by the way, YouTube, that's our video. We recorded it at the Clemson Insider. We are using it for our podcast. It is all good. And so, the YouTube police are so strict. Like if you put any kind of music that's close to something they resemble, they're going to fine you for it. And also it's like, I'm just like, so we use that little thing that StreamYard gives us, and we just kind of live with that. Right. And so that's all we can do. But anyway, I ramble along as we get you ready for Alex. It's finally here, baby. It's football season.
Oh man, this is the last time that you will hear us preview the LSU game before the season starts on Saturday. So we're going to get it all out there for you. But man, we got like 3 likes as soon as I said it's the last time we'll talk about it before it starts. But man, it is so good for it to be football season again. I have 0 plans on Saturday except watch football all stinking day.
Yeah, man. I won't be able to watch it all day. I have to work. You'll understand that later when William Qualkinbush comes on. I'm going to let him talk about everything that's going on with him and at WCCP and the Clemson Tigers Network, the Clemson Athletic Network, I should say. You're
going to get that right before the end of the football season.
I think I am. I'm going to get it right. Clemson Athletic Network. Anyway, William Qualkinbush, if you don't know who that is he's a host on WCCP, the Roar FM in the upstate of South Carolina. He's also a play-by-play guy for Clemson men's and women's basketball and Clemson baseball. I'm sure you guys know his voice. You know the name. We call him Qualk. His name is William Qualkinbush. We call him Qualk for short. He's going to join us here about a few minutes here, to talk all things Clemson, talk about what's going on with the Tiger pregame show this year, and then also talk about the LSU game as well. So we got a lot that we're going to discuss with him. He'll be joining us. So, Alex, though, before we get into that, we just talked about it. It's exciting. It's this, finally, this will be the 900th time we've talked about LSU. It'll be the last time, other than when we review the game next week, I guess. But, man, I'm glad it's here, though, because it's something we've been looking forward to this game, this home-and-home series, ever since they announced it, Clemson and LSU playing. I believe this was announced before they even played the national championship, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
right?
I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
I
So
think they announced it like 2017. I mean, this has been one that's been like a 10 years on the calendar game. So it might have been even like 2015 or 2016 when they announced this. But it's been a long time
yeah,
coming, and it'll finally the Tigers will run down the hill on Saturday, and they'll kick a ball off, and we'll be off from there.
yeah, absolutely. By the way, we appreciate you guys being with us and Believe in Clemson, presented by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel for all your prop betting and betting or whatever needs you have. Make sure to go on over to FanDuel and check those things out and what they have this week. We're going to have a little bit later in the show where Alex has got our Pick Six segment where we'll get our 6 games in, which includes Clemson and LSU. We'll make our picks. Alex is going to give a straight up pick, and also he'll give a pick as far as online. I mean, against the line and that kind of stuff, against the spread. And I'll just stick with, and you'll find out later why. I'm just going to stick with the spread part. But we will tackle the other games and talk about them as well, and a lot of things going on around the ACC and around the country in college football. This week 1, it's so awesome, man. I love football season. Went to the Steelers-Panthers game the other day in Charlotte. That was nice. It was cool because Steeler Nation was about, Alex. It was 30,000 Steeler fans there. Took over the stadium.
Hey, and I don't know if you saw this today too. This was Clemson related. Clemson fans have yet another reason not to be Carolina Panthers fans today.
That's right.
Because the Panthers cut Hunter Renfrow.
How about that? They cut Hunter Renfrow, dude. It's like, and he played well in the game. I saw him against the Steelers. His quarterback was chopping his head off because he was throwing the ball high and, put him in harm's way. And yet he was catching everything. So, but he looked good. I was booing him because he was playing for the Panthers. But I'm being honest. You know how I am, Alex.
You can cheer for him now, at least for another couple days.
I'm hoping the Steelers pick him up. I would love for Pittsburgh to pick him up. Now I don't know if the Steelers have a spot at wide receiver on their team, but I would love for the Steelers to pick him up if they got room. I'd take him in a heartbeat, man. So we would, because Alex, you're a Steelers fan as well. We take him without a doubt. But
here we go.
Hey, tonight, guys, if you want to leave comments, we'll definitely try to get some and answer some. I know some LSU fans. I hope you join us tonight. Please feel free to comment, just because it's a Believe in Clemson podcast. We welcome LSU fans or anybody else as well, including the fans down in Columbia. We don't discriminate against them either. They can come on here and give us a hard time. We don't care. We're going to give it back if you do. So,
and hey, let us know your thoughts on that Virginia Tech game that you guys have this weekend.
Absolutely.
The return of Shane Beamer against his
alma mater. Really pretty good story. Actually kind of gets lost in all the other things going on in college football. And I think that might be a good game. I really do. I think, Brent Pry, he's got to get his team together, because this is a big year for him. Or Shane Beamer could be going to Blacksburg next year, or somewhere else. If he does well at South Carolina again too. Not that he wants to lead the Gamecocks. I'm just saying those opportunities might present themselves for him. Don't want people to take that the wrong way. So anyway, we'll get into all that. But first, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and start with our sponsors. And we'll start off hold on just a second. Let me get it. We'll start off with the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Go on over to the ClemsonInsider.com today and check out all the stories. Had Dabo Swinney's press conference today. We also got to talk to Tom Allen. We got to talk to Garrett Riley. We got stories on all those guys as well. We talked to Tristan Lee also. So we got stories and videos and all that content over at the ClemsonInsider.com. Like I said, the complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. JP's got recruiting stories up there. He'll have it all week as they go about who's going to be in Death Valley on Saturday. That's a big deal, Alex, with the recruits come. Who's there? Who's not? Why is that guy there? Why is that guy not? Kind of things that people want to see, who's there and stuff like that. So I know there's going to be a big list of recruits, and JP's all over that. So go check it out at the ClemsonInsider.com. You can also follow us on X at the Clemson Insider, Facebook also at the Clemson Insider Facebook page, and you can follow me at Steeler Will and Alex at Alex Dodd Show. as well for all your Clemson and Clemson Insider needs. So go over to the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Also want to talk about our other sponsor. And our other sponsor, I want to give a shout out to our new sponsor, the all-new Smoke on the Water, which will be located at 664 Beacon Drive on Restaurant Row off of Pelham Road in Greenville, South Carolina. If everything goes to plan, Smoke on the Water will open its new location by late October. The all-new Smoke on the Water will feature the same famous smoked meats it had before. It'll have the same famous smoked meats it had before. The pulled pork. Man, I'm having a hard time tonight. I'm hungry, I guess. The pulled pork. The pulled pork, brisket, beer butt chicken, and prime rib. But a new few things will also appear on the menu as well. Also, its signature 5 barbecue sauces will be there to complement, not smother, but complement any of its smoked meats as well. Before the all-new Smoke on the Water will have Greenville's best happy hour, and it will feature live acoustic acts as well. If you remember the old Smoke on the Water, Alex, they always had someone there, performing outside and inside, is depending on the weather as well. It was always nice. They're going to kind of do the same thing there. So Smoke on the Water is owned by Mike Schuler. He was a staple in downtown Greenville for 18 years before being forced out of the previous location by its new landlords. Right now, the all-new Smoke on the Water is available for catering, and it has its food truck. So you can call 864-232-9091 for more information if you're interested in some catering. Or you can go to the all-new Smoke on the Water once it opens at 64 Beacon Drive on Restaurant Row off Pelham Road. Again, if you want to get some catering and stuff like that from Smoke on the Water, you can go ahead and call right now, 864-232-9091. Again, 864-232-9091. That's all new Smoke on the Water in Greenville. We appreciate them being with us and being a part of the podcast. Today, we got a lot of things going on. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to bring William Qualkinbush on. He's going to talk all things Clemson. He's going to preview the LSU game with us as well. He's going to be on here in just a few minutes. Before that, though, after that, I should say, we're going to talk about LSU. I got to educate the LSU fans, Alex. I think it's time to educate
once
them.
again, I mean, you got our boy Luke LeBourgeois coming in here saying junior right after you said Death Valley again. So you got to have to go on an educational journey.
I'm going to have to educate
Professor
them.
Will.
Yes, and LSU fans, I'm going to educate you tonight. It's time for you guys to learn the real truth. And you know how I'm educating you? On yourself, because you are the ones that taught me what the real story was. It wasn't Clemson. It was LSU that taught me what the real story is for Death Valley. So I will explain that when we get back. We're going to do our pick six. We're going to talk some other games in college football as well this weekend. But right now, I want to go ahead and bring in our good friend who's ready to go with us, William Qualkinbush from the Clemson Athletic Network. All right, Qualk, welcome, buddy. How you doing, man?
Fellas, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day, beautiful night, beautiful scene in Clemson, and I can't wait to talk a little ball with you.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to start off because you got a big announcement there on CCP, The Roar. Tell us what involves the Tiger pregame show this year and who.
So for the first time, Scott Reimer started the Tiger pregame show, I think when I was 12. And that's going to date a lot of people, but it has been going strong for a while. And Scott is traveling the country this year. Nothing happened to him. Actually, good stuff happened to him. He's like doing, 80,000 national parks. He's living an Alex Dodd life just out in the world, in nature. And so, in an RV, but you know what I'm saying. So I've been the co-host of the Tiger Pregame Show for a few years. And so I'm stepping up into the lead role. And Will Vandervoort is going to co-host some with me. And to reprise his role, we're basically doing LeBron Returns to Cleveland with Will Vandervoort. and Grayson Mann is going to be doing some more of that. We like Grayson. Grayson does a really good job. He's incredibly bright and talented. And so he's helping us out in some other ways at the Roar. And so we thought that'd be good for him. A little on ramp, give some on air experience. And one of the things that we are incredibly excited about is the opportunity to have two people like you, Will, and like Grayson. And I can't believe I'm saying this to your face, who work so hard and do such a good job of covering Clemson on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I mean, the amount of insight that we're getting, like one of the weaknesses to me is, because of my schedule and because of where our station is, a lot of times I can't get to the press availabilities. I can't get to open practices. I can't get to interviews, etc. And so having people who can, who aren't watching the videos on YouTube. I appreciate Clemson for having those for everybody, but having people that are there in the building that can give great context, I think is incredibly important. So we're excited about that. We have an army of interns that are going to be helping us. We got contests. We're going to ask people to bring food, so we're going to be well fed this year. It's going to be wild, and I can't wait. We're going to be inside. If you've been to the show and you know the show, we've had an outside stage for a number of years. We're going to be inside this year because of basketball construction. Just a little practice gym, no big deal. And so we're moving into Burton Gallery, so there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, and it should be fun to listen to, but I think it'll be even more fun to kind of watch live.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, bringing me back, Qualk, and like you said, LeBron coming back to Cleveland. I don't know if I want to use Cleveland as any kind of frame of reference for me, just because of my love for the Steelers.
Yeah, that's on me. That's on me. That was unfortunate. I'm so sorry.
But I get the reference and what you're trying to compare it to. But yeah, you're excited to do it, and I'm glad you called me and asked me to come back. I did it from 2009 to 11 with Scott. I had a good time. The only reason I stopped doing it was because I just had other job responsibilities and was not able to do it anymore at that time. And so I appreciate you giving me the call. And Grayson is like he's the rookie, the up and comer, if you will. He does a good job, I know, with the other things he does, and so yeah, it's going to be great working with you guys, and also just continuing to help mentor Grayson, as he'll tell you. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I always try to give him little pointers here and there and help him out. So it'll be good, kind of working with Grayson too in a professional manner as well.
Yeah, choose your mentors wisely. I would say that. And you know what? I'll say this in all seriousness: Grayson has, like, Will Vandervoort. For folks who don't know, like, I've worked for Will at every company in the world.
Yeah, this is around. This goes all the way around now.
Yeah, and so like Will Vandervoort is one of my great influences in the business, whether he wants it or not, and whether I want it or not, he's it. And I wouldn't be half the reporter I am without his tutelage. So you could pick a lot worse mentors. I'll tell you that right now.
I appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, I appreciate that. And obviously, both of you guys here worked under me at the Clemson Insider and other Qualk at Ipte Media at the Journal. Qualk's been with me all throughout. So we've worked together. So it's going to be cool working with you again, buddy, because we've always had a good time working together, and I know that'll be the case now too. And of course, you got Alex has worked with both of us as well, and we both mentored Alex. And unfortunately, we're sorry to everybody out there that
every flaw Alex displays on a daily basis, he learned from us. And I feel very confident saying that. I wouldn't preach very well, but I feel good saying it right now.
And we're all three, red bearded up on a Tuesday and getting ready for football season. Qualk, is it kind of hard to believe that you're going to be doing this Tiger pregame show in just a few days? Like, this is actually getting going this week?
I got the butterflies. I showed up to work yesterday and I thought, I have 48 things to do today. Wow, this is great. There's a level of stress that comes with it. Like, coaches feel it 24/7, 365. Have no idea how. But when we have all these markers, right? We have like the spring practice and the magazines come out and the start of camp or like Dabo's media day, ACC media day, start of camp, And first stadium scrimmage, we have all these markers that are like yelling at you, hey, it's coming, prepare yourself. And then we're like mad about it. And then it gets to Monday and you're like, oh, I have a lot to do on Saturday. Let's see if we can get ready for that. And so there is a level of stress that comes with it, and a level of preparation that you have to meet. You have to meet the moment. I mean, I try to do everything I do with excellence to the best of my ability. But like when you've got a big game, listen, in our business, I'll be honest, like we got to have good shows, but nameless, faceless ain't a thing, right? All the coaching cliches, not a thing, right? LSU has a name. Brian Kelly has a face. Like this is a big freaking deal, man. You know who else has a face? Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit are calling the game. ACC Huddle is going to be there. Like, listen, I'm friends with Eric McElwain. We have to do a better show than the Huddle. Like that's the competition this week. If the Huddle's not there, I don't say that. Like it's one of those things where, you know, I understand what coaches say. Like I asked Tom Allen about this in July. I was like, you know, you're trying to get your team ready, but like, I mean, you're really trying to get them ready, aren't you? And he's like, well, yeah, you know, I get, you know, he said a lot of words, but he's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it does rally you when you have a big time opponent like this. And I think that's true of players, even the coaches that say the right stuff. They're communicating to their team, either when they're talking to us or they're talking directly to them. But it is a big deal. I'm very excited to get to break this thing down.
Well, we're going to kind of do a little bit of that right now with you. And I know you're like me. You're just kind of getting into your prep. But in all fairness, we've kind of been prepping all summer. So let's be honest. I don't know if there's much more we're going to be able to get from a knowledge-based standpoint than what we already know to this point, Qualk. And I just want to go ahead and ask your opinion. This is, by the way, William Qualkinbush from the Roar FM in Clemson. Also works with the Clemson Sports Network. How do we say it called? Clemson Athletic or Clemson Sports Network?
Clemson Athletic Network. Yeah, that's another one. Like I haven't said that in 3 months, and now I'm gonna have to say it 58 times at halftime and postgame on Saturday. So I gotta Ron Burgundy. Got to get the. You need unique New York and all that stuff. I can't say what Ron Burgundy says because it's a family show. But.
Exactly. We say that after we're done. Anyway, just want to get your thoughts, though, initially. Like, what are you looking for from Clemson and what are you looking for from LSU going into this football game?
Well, I think it's a fascinating matchup because, and you'll remember this, Will. Alex, you were like 4 years old, so you might not, so bear with us. In 2008, going to the Georgia Dome, that was I was working that game for Sports Information, and I remember the run-up to that game. People may not remember that Nick Saban's first team at Alabama in 2007 lost to Louisiana Monroe in November. And they were a borderline top 25 team. Mm-hmm. And Clemson was in the top 10. Tommy Bowden just gotten an extension. Lots of good returning weapons. Of course, you had C.J. Spiller. Jamie Harper infamously got the first carry that season. So, I mean, you had lots of dudes. What Clemson didn't have and what we spent a lot of the offseason trying to explain away or ignore was lines of scrimmage. And when Terrence Cody is across from guys that aren't getting it done, you're losing every snap. And to me, that is what this game screams to me. I'm not saying that Brian Kelly's getting fired by Halloween or that LSU is going to be basically a 500 football team, but I do think this is one of those things where maybe for the only time all year, Clemson, to me, is at a disadvantage in terms of skill. You look at the receivers that LSU has with Anderson coming over. They got all the Andersons. You got Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson. You've got Barryon Brown. The last time Clemson saw him was the best day of his life. The guy can't catch a cold in ice water, but he had 50-yard gains every 12 minutes against Clemson in that bowl game playing for Kentucky.
And a 95-yard kickoff return.
Exactly. So, like, these are game-changing things, right? But that skill. And even at the running back position, Caden Durham is a guy that LSU very much likes. For the first time in a couple of years, they feel like they really solidified something. I would say even in the secondary, I think LSU did a good job in the portal at corner, and I think they've got pretty good safety play. So there's that. The issue is, from a Clemson, or I guess from an LSU standpoint, that line of scrimmage gap appears wide. Clemson's offensive line, Dabo, for the first time in his life, I won't say lie, but he didn't wildly overstate the usefulness of his offensive line. Will, you know this. Alex, you probably do too, but I know Will does. that the math is whatever number of guys that Dabo says we can win with on the offensive line, cut a third off of that. If he says 8, it's 6, or 5. If it's 12, it's actually 8. Well, he actually said in camp that he had 7 starters and he's looking for an 8th, and he's never talked about it like that before that I can remember. And he's right that he actually has 7 guys who have started games, like plural, at Clemson. LSU has some returning starters, but I believe the number is 16 starts combined, and their 5 projected starters on the offensive line have been at LSU. So you've got over 140 starts at Clemson, all at Clemson, 16 starts at LSU. That's a huge gap. You got 2 tackles who are going to have to communicate in the environment of Memorial Stadium against TJ Parker, Will Held, Peter Woods, DeMonte Capehart, Jaheim Lawson, Amari Adams, Stephon Green, Vic Burley, like you name it. They're going to have to block these guys, and they've not done this before. I don't care how much crowd noise you can pump in. That's a huge advantage for Clemson. And I think offensive line, to me, LSU's defensive line is fine, but they're not what Clemson is. And Clemson's offensive line is one of the best that LSU will see this year, or should be, at least as a cohesive unit. So that's my main that's the main thing that I'm focused on in getting ready for this game, Will and Alex, is Clemson's advantage on the line of scrimmage appears to be that of Alabama 17 years ago in an opener, even though LSU may have the advantage in skill. And like I said, I don't think we'll say that about any of Clemson's opponents the rest of the year.
Yeah, Clemson was in that game. You're talking about 34-10, lost to Alabama in 2008. By the way, that's one of the stats I put. I don't know if you saw that. I put it on X the other day that Clemson against the SEC all time in openers is 3-9 all time against the SEC in openers. One of those was that 2008 game against Alabama. Wasn't pretty, but in that game, you probably would have said Clemson had the skill players with C.J. Spiller and all those guys they had, Aaron Kelly and I can't remember. Jacoby Ford was on that team, I believe, and obviously had James Davis. And you would have said that was the team that had the better skill, but Alabama clearly was better on the defensive line and on the offensive line, and they just mashed Clemson that whole game, 34-10. And I do believe that this game is going to be won, and it comes down to one matchup to me. It comes down to one matchup, and I think. And this is where I said Brian Kelly messed up. He poked the bear all offseason with his, Death Valley Jr. comment, and then saying that, they let Clemson borrow the moniker Death Valley. I don't know if he forgot what it was like when he walked in here in a hurricane in 2015, and he thought he was walking in and he was going to see what he would see at Raleigh, where there'd be like 15,000 people there and it wouldn't be a problem. And he saw 81,000 people standing in the rain giving his Notre Dame team crap, and they looked like crap for 3.5 quarters in that game, remember? Now, they made a furious comeback and have a chance, but, this game he's already poked the bear, and you're bringing in a brand-new offensive line that's never worked together, and you poke the bear, and they're going to cause crowd noise to be an issue. Remember Louisville? How loud it got that game in 2016 and how many procedure penalties Louisville had in that game. Remember Notre Dame came in here a few years ago with a veteran offensive line in the middle of the day, by the way, and had like 5 procedure penalties because it was so loud in the stadium. I think that was just stupid for Brian Kelly. And so to me, part of the matchup is Clemson's defensive line against that offensive line. And you've already kind of, in a way, poked the bear where it's going to be communication is going to be extremely difficult. And I don't care how loud they make it at practice this week. It's not going to be loud. And I was listening to the LSU podcast that has the former 2 players. They're both on – one's on SiriusXM. You probably know what I'm talking about, Qualk. And they were talking about how, this will probably be the biggest crowd in Clemson history. Like, Clemson's never had big crowds. I really don't think LSU understands – and their fans don't understand what they're coming into. Like, Clemson's Death Valley, from a decimal standpoint, is on the higher scale than LSU's is. I mean, it's loud. It's in a valley. It's literally in a valley. And I don't think the LSU people understand that as they're coming in. I just thought that was kind of I don't know. It was kind of a snooty comment. Oh, this will probably be the biggest crowd they've ever had. It'll be loud, but I was like, really, guys? Really? You're former players.
Let me-
You're saying that?
Look, like who are you? Like offense. Like I was gonna say no offense, but offense. Who are you? Like you're not. LSU's not better than 2013 Georgia.
No.
LSU's not better than 2015 Notre Dame and a Hurricane. Like LSU's not better than 2016 Louisville. LSU's not better than Texas A&M in 05. Like, come on now. Georgia 04. Like that game was terrible, by the way. That's the worst game of my life. But I mean, well, no, the NC State TA McClendon Thursday night in the rain. That's the worst game of my life. And even 2013 Florida State can't take that from me. But like, come on now. Even 2013 Florida State. Like nah, man. Clemson ain't gonna be wide-eyed. Clemson fans are gonna be wide-eyed. They're not, like now this ticket is expensive. I don't know we've ever had a ticket like this, but have you seen inflation? Like I'm not trying to have an economic argument, but inflation, man. I mean, inflation's everywhere. So to me, I don't understand the level of importance that LSU feels again. Maybe that's a way to like soothe their nerves or whatever, but like you're not. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like you're not that special. Yeah. Like to some ACC teams, LSU going in there would be a really, really big deal. And look, I think LSU coming in is a big deal. But is it a bigger deal than when A&M came in 05? Is it a bigger deal than when Georgia came in 04 or when Georgia came in 13? Is it a bigger deal than when Notre Dame came in 15? No, I would not.
It's not a bigger deal than
that.
Bowden Bowl 1, which holds the record, 86,000. They're not going to be 86,000 people here. I mean,
look, Miami came that same 04 season. Miami came and they set the decibel record then. Charles Bennett sack, like Charles Bennett. Yeah. Shout out to Charles Bennett. I know he's watching. But, I mean, I don't understand that from an LSU standpoint. And this is where the SEC people get them in trouble. Y'all can get me fired up.
That's what I like to do. Let's go.
Start preaching a little bit. Give me Oregon. I'm telling you right now, like the level of ignorance, okay? And again, that's just academic ignorance. I'm not even talking about like an ignorant. I'm talking about the academic ignorance that people who have never been to Clemson have about Clemson is crazy to me. It is astounding to me. If you're just flying the SEC flag or you feel like your environment's really nice, like you know what I love about Clemson fans is like Clemson fans will tell you if your environment's good. Mm-hmm. Like they will tell you. Like they go to a place and you're like, yeah, man, that was tough. That was hard. That was a fun one. I feel like a lot of these SEC stadium, a lot of these SEC fan bases are like, oh, Clemson's probably like, couple decibels louder than Mississippi State. I mean, but the cowbells. I mean, let's talk about cowbells for a second. I mean, it's nuts to me, and that's no disrespect to Mississippi State, but it's the perspective that is so annoying from the SEC class of fan, commentator, whatever, that think that just because you have bigger stadiums, at the median of your conference than everybody, but maybe the Big Ten and even including the Big Ten, that there aren't tough environments everywhere, or that people are going to be quaking in fear or, scramble like the Beatles are in town when the SEC logo comes in. Clemson football is not like that. The fans don't feel that way and the team doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, Qual, kind of on that same point, and we mentioned it earlier, doesn't it seem kind of weird that Brian Kelly has experienced that and he wouldn't be, all offseason talking about how amazing Clemson's environment is and how nice their fans are and how much he loves going there? You figure he'd be doing everything in his power to maybe, for people to golf clap when he walked in. But it seems like he's done kind of the opposite.
It's funny that you say that because I'm actually I'm at a point now where I'm not that surprised. And here's why, okay? This is a little bit of 4D chess, but bear with me. Actually, it's not. I think it's pretty easy. Brian Kelly, since the family comment that everybody, LSU people, non-LSU people, everybody made fun of, right? And he even has poked fun at himself. By the way, I actually think the SEC documentary on Netflix, I think it humanized Brian Kelly in kind of a cool way. Like
I think so too. For maybe the first time, he seemed like a real human.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it did, but he needs to do that, okay? Because what that comment showed is like you're gonna have to work hard to be one of us. And, like, you can win, like, Les Miles, a Michigan guy, comes in, eats grass, does some weird stuff, wins a national championship. Nobody cares until he doesn't win national championships for a while. Nick Saban didn't grow up on the bayou, right? Ed Orgeron did, but it only helped him a couple years. You go 6-6 one time or 7-5 one time, whoop, you're done. So Brian Kelly can win and be endeared, but if you're not going to win, and winning at LSU is playoff, win national championships, whatever. When the three guys before you have all won a national championship by year 4, I think it is, or 5, you have to win one, especially when you've come this close a couple times at your previous school, and LSU was considered closer than Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman immediately gets Notre Dame right in the national picture. That's not good for Brian Kelly. That doesn't look good for LSU. They hired the wrong Notre Dame coach, is what people are saying right now. And so Brian Kelly needs some goodwill, right? And so how do you get goodwill? Will Vandervoort, you've been to these touchdown clubs. You go in this room and you get people fired up. It's like a political town hall or a political convention where you're giving a speech and you're trying to get claps and you're trying to get people on your side. I think that's what Brian Kelly did this summer, is he realized, I've got to play to my base just a little bit because I haven't won an opener, and this is a big opener. I got to get to the playoff. This is kind of a big year. I need some goodwill. I need some people behind me. And so I think he's really worked hard. I mean, to his credit, I don't think it's phony. I think he's really worked hard to try his best to be, quote unquote, one of them, to be one of us, to the people at LSU, even though, from a personality standpoint, he's just not, especially relative to his predecessor. So I think that's what this is about. I think it's red meat to the base kind of stuff. It's sort of like, the famous Dabo presser where Carolina's in Chapel Hill and USC's in California. Did that poke the bear? Yeah, it did, probably. But it was red meat for the base at a time when the base needed red meat. And so I kind of think that's what Brian Kelly's doing. And from a strategic standpoint, I think it's good for him to do that, because if they don't get to the playoff this year, if they lose this game, that guy's seat gets turned up. I don't think that, barring collapse, I don't think they would move on for Brian Kelly right now. But if they don't get to the playoff this year with a veteran quarterback and the veterans all over and the way they spend in the portal, maybe the best portal class in the country, and they lost Bryce Underwood, $4 million quarterback to Michigan, guys committed to LSU for a year. That's not a great look. That was sort of your future there. So with all that being said, I think they need to win, and I think he knows that.
Yeah, the difference with Dabo's comment was that that was the couple weeks before they played Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game, and they went on to win that first one, and gave Dabo a little bit of grace period because he would lose the next two to South Carolina after that comment. And so, he had to Clemson people were a little more patient because Dabo Swinney took him to an ACC championship and a BCS game. And so there's a little bit more patience because of that, I think, after Dabo's comment on that. But you're right. I think it's important that Brian Kelly and LSU come out there this week because of the way he's kind of convinced his team, if you will, that they can win instead of just knowing they can go win. He's kind of tried to convince them all summer that they can win this game. I'm interested to see how that works out for him. That's one of the things I'm going to be watching in this game, obviously. Qualk, we are presented by FanDuel here at Believe in Clemson. I know you like to do a little bit of spread stuff. I can't ask you who's going to win because me and you were going to do that on Saturday, so we can't say who we think is going to win right now and what the score would be or whatever. But you can give out some props and some and what you think there. So since we're presented by FanDuel here and Believe in Clemson, give me your props and what are you looking for this week?
Well, I'm trying to see up to the minute. I think we're looking at a 4.5 in terms of spread. And to me, this is a little bit of a stay away. I think I would lay them. If you had to, FanDuel, if you made me, I think I would lay them right now, but I don't feel great about that because of what I said before, because I think lines of scrimmage matter. And I do think line of scrimmage is going to be big in this game. A couple things to look for. One thing that I'm staying away from in this game are receivers. The one thing I might look for is maybe a Barry Brown longest reception over. I do think big plays, particularly Clemson's got issues at safety. Khalil Barnes, I think Khalil Barnes is going to play. Nobody has said that. I think this is the type of game where you give it a go. And he's been resting quite a bit for the last few weeks with the hamstring. So I think he's going to be ready at least to give it a go and play some snaps. But behind Khalil Barnes, there's a lot of green and a lot of unproven at safety. And you know what? In a brand new defense, you're going to have a couple busts, right? First game, you're going to have a couple busts probably on both sides, even LSU in year 3 year 2 with Blake Baker. I think there's going to be some busts there. So Varian Brown's already proven he could be a game breaker against Clemson. So I don't know if he's going to have 1 catch or 5, but I like his longest reception over in this game. I like T.J. Parker sacks to go over. I think Parker, once they figured out the migraines, and what's crazy is like I talk about a lot on my show, like 3rd grade, 4th grade science, maybe even younger than that. I don't know when anybody learns anything now. But 3rd grade, 4th grade science says you can't change 2 variables because you don't know which one caused the change in the substance or whatever it is. Well, T.J. Parker played Pittsburgh around the time that by the way, Pittsburgh's offensive line was me, Will Vandervoort, Alex Dodd, and 2 ghosts, okay, in that game. And so, we don't really know. Like, T.J. Parker abused a little boy. I mean, disrespect intended. It was a little boy. T.J. Parker abused a little boy, had 4 sacks. But he did play better down the stretch of the year after the migraines. And if you look at LSU, you got a redshirt freshman and a lightly used sophomore at the tackles. And they don't really have an older backup that they can just throw in that's played that you would feel better about just to stabilize this environment. So I like T.J. Parker sacks over here against Clemson too. And if I had numbers up, I don't have numbers up in front of me, but those would be 2 that I would be targeting in this game. 1 on the LSU side and 1 on the Clemson side from a prop standpoint.
All right, Qualk, just kind of – Alex, you got something you want to ask? I'm sorry.
Man, I was just going to ask you, kind of one more time on this environment thing. Like, what do you think it's going to be like when you're getting over there on Saturday morning and people start filing over? What are those emotions like for you the first Saturday of college football season?
Will, I think it's funny that Alex thinks I'm going to show up that early to the game. No, I show up a minute after I'm supposed to be anywhere, and that's what everybody knows.
I knew Qualk was perfect for this business from the very first time he had an assignment for me. I mean, I had an assignment.
Oh man,
that was when I knew Qualk was perfect for this business.
That's a great story too. Hey, make sure you know exactly where you're going if you're going to cover a game. I was actually going to be early that day, and I was not early. I think the environment's going to be great. I mean, think about this. The tailgating environment week 1 is awesome. I mean, it's terrific. Look, we're looking a week, 2 weeks out at weather. I mean, we're looking out at what's it going to be like? And I think the weather looks like it's going to be really, really good. So people are going to, to Alex's point, people are going to get there super early. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm on campus, our 1:30 show start, when I pull up at 1:22 or whatever, I'll be there earlier than that. But when I pull up, I think there is going to be a feel of a big game. You can fit what's funny about Clemson, and I think it's like this more in sort of the college town. It's hard to do it in a city, right? But because of the tailgating environment in a college town, when there's a big game, you can feel it about the time you wake up and step outside. Like, I don't know what that is, but you can feel it about the time you wake up and step outside. I live about, 10 minutes from campus, and I'll be able to feel it on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock when I step outside. That's the beautiful thing about football. And we get 7 of these. And, one of my colleagues, Mickey Plyler, he always says, I'm whatever years old. I only get to watch Clemson run down the hill 40 more times in my life, which it's not 40, 80 more times in my life that I feel good about watching Clemson run down the hill, or 150 or whatever it is. And so you cherish those moments. You get to tailgate with friends and family. You cherish those moments. Especially if you got a ticket for this game, you think you're lucky stars, and you spend the whole day going, you got a parking pass for this game? You spend the whole day. Because there's a lot of people trying to get those. They can't get their hands on them. And I do think that type of feel – that's right. Hey, that's right. Yeah, it's true for us too, man. It's true for us too. Where am I parking? Where's the shuttle? I don't even know. God bless if a golf cart's there to pick me up in mile 3 of my hike. I mean, that's it.
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you get in trouble with your sister-in-law, and I don't want to get in trouble with her either. Chandler has done a wonderful job. I know where I'm parking, Chandler. I don't know what Qualk's talking about. It's on him.
Look, let me say this too, okay? If people aren't aware, every year, IPTAY, I'm sure they're just getting hammered. I asked somebody in IPTAY last week. I said, "Hey, are y'all ready for like game problems? And he's like, yeah, we're ready for game problems because people just are mad. Like for 3 months, they're mad about parking. Like my parents, they got bumped out of their lot. But like construction just moves everybody. It just moves everybody out. And like the rich people got to take shuttles this year. So of course the peons like us, we're gonna have to walk some. But I think Clemson does a really good job of packing a lot of people into a small space.
They do.
And just trying to figure that out. And Alex, to your question, for a game like this, I mean, there's going to be 83,000 in the stadium, but 100,000, 120,000
outside.
I mean, there have been some games where you're talking about 125 plus thousand people estimated to be on or around campus. That is a real blessing to be a part of that. It's like triple what Clemson proper with the university in the town. It's like triple the population on a given day of class, like today. And so it's awesome to be a part of things like this. We're very blessed to do it.
All right, Qualk, we're going to get you out here. But before we do, tell everybody where they can find you and then what the plan is for Saturday and all that good stuff.
You can follow me on Twitter at Qualk Talk, Instagram at Qualk Talk. You can hear Ben Milstead and me on the Roar 105.5 FM, Greenville West. 97.5 Spartanburg Northeast, I'll say. You can get us from like the North Carolina border, sometimes a little bit up into the mountains, all the way down to Commerce. So it's great. It's awesome. And you can hear us noon to 3 weekdays there. You can catch Will and me on the Tiger pregame show starting at 1:30 on those same stations and on our app. We have an app where you can listen every day. Just download the Roar app. It's how I listen. I listen in my house and I get in my car and I forget that I'm not on the radio, that I don't need the delay, right? I don't have to do the 30-second delay. But listen on the app if you're out of the area. And you can hear me halftime and postgame. Donald Clark and I will be doing fifth quarter show. So it's going to be a late night. We'll get you home. And it's going to be a great Saturday. I cannot wait.
Well, Clark, don't you love it that there's one more person in the press box besides you that's been there all day? It'll be me.
So, I can't win the marathon anymore. I can't win the marathon because you're going to still be riding when I leave. Yeah. So I won't be the guy that's been at the stadium the longest anymore. So you know what? We'll get you a championship belt for that. How about it?
I love it, but you have to give it to Grayson the very next week. But
yeah, y'all just swap it. Y'all do a little swap on social for that.
Awesome, man. Awesome, good stuff, Qualk. Thanks for coming on, man. Again, that's William Qualkinbush over at WCCP and the Clemson Athletic Network. All right, Qualk, thanks, man. We'll talk to you on Saturday.
Great to see you, boys. Y'all take care. We'll see you Saturday.
Yes, sir.
All right, that was William Qualkinbush with the Clemson Athletic Network. I got it right that time, Alex. So, appreciate Qualk coming on and talking to us about the LSU game. And Alex, you sent me a text message during the interview there when Qualk was talking, and you said we got vintage Qualk on this podcast today. And tell people what you mean by that was vintage Qualk.
Man, sometimes he just gets more worked up than other times. We all got like a little bit of that redhead gene in us, but I think he got like a double portion. Because boy, he gets fired up, and we got him talking SEC. We got him talking real Death Valley. So those are like tailor made to get Qualk fired up.
Yeah, it was good, and we appreciate him coming on, man. And I'm excited, Alex, to work with the Tiger pregame show. He mentioned on there. I'm looking forward to that, and talking about the LSU game on Saturday. So if you're an LSU fan or a Clemson fan, come by and say hello to me and to Qualk. We'll be at the Burton Gallery there, as he mentioned, at Little John Coliseum inside. So when you come up the stairs, you'll be able to go into the gallery there. That's where you'll see where we're at. It is open. People will be able to walk in because they open it for restrooms and stuff like that. So you'll be able to come in and say hey to us, and we talk to you in between commercial breaks and stuff like that, or just come watch us and listen to what we have to say for a while about the game and all. We'll be breaking it down. The beautiful thing about the Tiger pregame show is we're talking like me and you are right now. We're talking Clemson football and LSU game, and we're going to break down the game just like me and you were kind of doing today, and that's what makes it fun.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I always listen to the Tiger pregame show on Saturday mornings. I got even more reason to listen now with you being on there, and excited for you to get that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
All right, and hey, if you got some comments, please throw them in the comment section. We got one right here. Do you guys think Gideon Davison will play on Saturday for Clemson? It's a great question. I don't know. I'll tell you this right now. Dabo didn't release the depth chart, so we don't know who's doing what. But from what we heard inside camp, obviously, and actually he said it on TV yesterday, and Dabo kind of mentioned it today, that Adam Randall is going to be the starting running back for the Tigers. Adam Randall was on ACC PM yesterday, and he said it on there. And then Dabo confirmed it, said it today himself, that Randall. So we know Adam Randall's starting at running back. But from what we heard, it's going to be David. How do you say it?
Ezezume.
Ezezume.
Easy E. Just call him Easy E.
Easy E is going to be. He's going to be the backup, from what we're hearing. Had a very good camp, and so then after that, I think Davison is probably your third choice, at least in a situation where you want a fast guy in. I think he's your third choice in that situation. So I think you're going to see him play. I don't think it's going to be a lot. I think he's a little bit ahead of where Travis Etienne was at this point in his career as a freshman. Remember, Travis Etienne didn't play the first game, and played very little the second game, and finally really kind of got going that Louisville game that year. Remember, but before that, Travis played very sparingly. So the first 3 or 4 games of the season, Travis was very sparingly, and I think they're kind of do that here. They're kind of going to use him sparingly, but I think he will play in this game because he's a little ahead in pass pro and things like that than Travis was at this point. And also he's better in the passing game as well. So we might see him in screen situations like a CJ Spiller or something like that. So we'll see. I don't know that for sure, but we'll see. I'm just giving you what I've been told from people that have watched the scrimmages and things of that nature. So we'll see what happens there. Alex, I promised the people, the LSU fans, that I was going to educate them a little bit tonight, because we had our boy Ricardo come on here last week, covers LSU, and Ricardo LeCompte works down there at a TV station in New Orleans, and he was saying the LSU fans were saying that they were first, that they're the original Death Valley, and I was just like, what? That's no, you're not. You're not even close to being first. And it's like, if you want to talk about how great your stadium is and all that, that's cool. And it is. Nobody's going to take that away from you. But you're not the first original or best Death Valley, okay? Because Clemson has been Death Valley since 1945, okay? And here's the story. And so Lonnie McMillan, Presbyterian College coach, used to bring his Presbyterian team into Clemson. And the year before, his team got beat 76-0. And so he told his players, we're going to come back to Death Valley and have to play Clemson, And so, and they did for years. They came to Death Valley. Clemson would stomp them for years. And, Presbyterian would come and play, and you give them credit, but they got stomped all the time, like 76-0, 45-0, 33-6. I mean, it wasn't pretty most years. And a lot of people, here's a perception you LSU people probably heard. Clemson's called Death Valley because there's a cemetery beside it. It has nothing to do with that. Not a single. There is a cemetery beside Death Valley, but it's not. It has nothing to do with why it's called Death Valley. It's called Death Valley because of Lonnie McMillan, what he said. And Clemson is actually a valley. The stadium it was made in a valley. Okay, because the Piedmont, you got to understand where Clemson's located. It's located up in the mountainous regions, the Piedmont area of the state of South Carolina. And so it was in a valley. That's why when they run down the hill, it's a 110-foot drop. They run down a 110-foot incline down into the bottom of the stadium. And when you're in the stadium, if you're coming to the game, you're going to notice how loud it is. You know why? And the LSU players are going to notice how loud it is because it goes down into the valley. The sound goes down. And if you're in the upper decks at Clemson, they don't go like this and they spread out. They're like this. It's engineered made. The engineers at Clemson made it to go down where the sound goes down. And if you're walking, Alex, you've been in the upper decks at Clemson. When you're walking, I mean, you got to have you better do your stretching
Yeah,
You're-
thank God they added these handrails when they started selling beer because, good Lord.
yes, people would fall out of the stadium. I mean, you literally feel like you're going to fall out of the stadium. You feel like you're walking up a major incline. I mean, if you got a heart condition, do not walk up the upper decks in Death Valley. Okay. So
It's Will's health advice of the show.
my health advice of the show.
Dr. Will.
So understand that. And so the sound goes down and it's all goes down into that valley. And it's it is a true valley. That's what it is. It's not a stadium built, and they built the stadium on solid ground, and the stadium came up above, and it makes it look like a valley. No, it's actually a valley, and that's why Coach McMillan called it Death Valley. So Coach Howard, Frank Howard, the longtime Clemson coach, he eventually one day, he grabbed onto that. He heard what Lonnie McMillan said. He saw it in the newspapers, and he grabbed onto it. So it started in 1945 with Lonnie McMillan saying it. Coach Howard then grabbed it and took off with it. And by the early 1950s, everybody was calling Clemson's Death Valley. Anybody that come to play here was calling it Death Valley. All the media was calling it Death Valley. That was early 1950s. Okay, LSU, you got 4 stories that could use that they're called like urban legends. Like we don't know which one's true. The earliest recount though, Alex, is 1959 when LSU's Heisman Trophy winner Billy Cannon took a kickoff 68 yards for a touchdown against Ole Miss, and that secured it. And supposedly the Cajuns came running out of their houses, and they were saying Death Valley, Death Valley. And it sounded like they were saying Death Valley, but they were actually saying Death, D-E-A-F Valley. And so, but I talked to Coach Dietzel, who was the head coach of that team, and coached there till like 1962 or whatever. He coached from like 55 to 62. And I asked Coach Dietzel, I said, what did they call LSU Tiger Stadium when you were there? And he says, they called it Tiger Stadium. Was it supposed to be called something else? That's what he told me. And I'm like, well, they said it's called Death Valley. He's like, no, it was never called anything like that when I was there. And so, okay, you take that into account. That's Coach Dietzel, former LSU coach, telling me that for my story that I did back in 2012 when I first did this story. And then, Alex, I did my research, and there's a book called The 100 Years of LSU Football. It was written in 1996. And the author of that book, and I linked it to my story and highlighted where it is in the book. The author of that book even says Clemson, it says LSU, it talks about LSU being Death Valley. It tells that story about Billy Cannon. But he says Clemson was already calling their stadium Death Valley before LSU was.
Right.
Their own history book gives Clemson credit for being the first one to call it Death Valley. So the original Death Valley, the only question, everybody says it's the Battle of Death Valleys. There is no Battle of Death Valleys. Clemson is the original and only Death Valley. LSU is the one that Clemson allows to borrow the nickname because it was Clemson's nickname first, Brian Kelly.
And for some unknown reason, Clemson has never trademarked the name of the stadium.
I know they should.
It's the 50s, but whatever.
They've had it. They should have trademarked it, and it should have been called College Football's Original Death Valley. That's all they got to do to trademark it. Yeah. And then there's no argument. And and I know ESPN likes to do their little spin, and they got to do their SEC spin, so they make it sound like LSU's better, and they put all those LSU people in place. But I'm telling you here, that's the history of Death Valley. That's who owns it first. Clemson owns it 14 years before the first urban legend of LSU's came out. And I call it urban legend because people I've talked to that were around in that area, they don't know. They never heard it called Death Valley at that time. So anyway, that's the story. Clemson is the original Death Valley in college football, and that ends the story. And let's enjoy the game on Saturday night. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit, Alex. Let's do it. Let's talk some football. If you got some questions, please comment to us. Alex, is there any more new comments that we need to?
Yeah, we got one right here from Chris Walton on YouTube. Says, I think Clemson wins both line of scrimmages, and that's the difference in the game. What are your thoughts?
I'm with them. And here's why, because I like Clemson's defensive front up against LSU's offensive line. As I mentioned earlier talking to Qualk, and I've said this on a couple of radio shows, I don't know why Brian Kelly poked the bear. I really don't. Like, why are you going to get the Clemson fans pissed off at you already? And he did that. And I say that because he's got 5 new offensive linemen where only 16 plays they've taken together. okay, combined of the 5 guys. So in other words, they're basically brand new guys. Yeah, some have got experience. They got the former Virginia Tech center. Yeah, they got experience, but they're not experienced together. Like they've
Right.
never played
I think
together.
I don't understand. I think Clemson people understand this, or people that I've seen talk about this from a Clemson perspective or from the Clemson side. They understand the cohesion element, but I don't know why I haven't heard this on the national stage. That more people are talking about how important the cohesion is. I know people are talking about, yeah, they've got some talent coming in. They like the guys that they have in place, but I just haven't seen people from the national stage talking about the cohesion and how big a deal that is on the offensive line for LSU coming in this game.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big part of this story. And I go back to the Louisville game. I bring up 2016 as the best example of this. Louisville played 4 games, and they had a brand new offensive line that year. Brand new. All 5 brand new starters. And they played a couple road games before that, and their coach at the time, he was like, yeah, we're not worried about Clemson because we've had a couple road games. We played at Marshall. He compared Marshall to playing at Clemson. Their offensive line had 7 illegal procedure penalties. 7. Because of communication issues. It was so loud in the stadium, and they weren't used to it. They hadn't experienced that, and they haven't experienced it together. And that was the key thing, right? And that's what we're talking about here. It's like, it's not that they can't handle it or they're not. I mean, these are Division I players. We're not, but there's a difference when all 5 guys got to be on the same page and hear everything at the same time, and they haven't worked together. And so the way you communicate, the way you do things on the road, as opposed to being at home or in practice, is totally different. Everything's happening fast. You're going fast. You're watching, and Tom Allen, by the way, is going to be throwing a whole bunch of confusion things going on in front of them to try to even make them think more. All these things are going on, and they got to figure it out. And it's like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Communication is a big deal. And I'm with you. I don't understand why people aren't playing this up more, because it's going to be loud when LSU has the football, and those guys are going to have to communicate in a silent way and do it together without anybody jumping off sides and stuff. And that's hard to do. It's hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want to get into a few keys for the game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Send people on their merry way.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'll lead us off here. I got 3 keys for Clemson to win this football game. Number 1 is make LSU one-dimensional. Everybody knows what Garrett Nussmeier can do. Everybody knows he can beat you throwing the football. But if you take away the run game from LSU, you got a really good shot to win this football game. Caden Durham's going to be a problem. He was a heck of a back last year, freshman All-SEC for LSU. But if you can take away the run game, then you got a good chance in this one. I like Clemson's chances to do that with the front 7 too.
Yeah, I do.
And I know it's a big concern coming into the year. I heard somebody on Facts and Childress's radio show this morning, Bengal John or whatever, the LSU fan that calls in a lot, said that he thinks people are maybe not talking enough about how bad Clemson was against the run last year. But I think that's going to be much improved. He kept saying it was a personnel problem, and I don't know if it was. I think it was partially a personnel problem that I think gets fixed with Sammy Brown taking the majority of the snaps at linebacker. But I think it was as much a technique and a scheme issue as it was a personnel issue last year.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. Definitely coaching was an issue last year, without a doubt. I'm sorry, you talk about Ben Boulware, a guy who played at the highest level, a guy who won a national championship, who's probably one of the best linebackers Clemson's ever had from a IQ standpoint. You're putting him in replace of a guy who didn't ever coach before, didn't play the game. I mean, yeah, big time difference, right? Yeah. So I think that's going to play a big role in this, without a doubt, for Clemson's defense. I think Tom Allen bringing the tackling is they're going to be a much better tackling team. As you mentioned, technique's going to be better. Everything's going to be better from that standpoint. And then I think Will Helt, Will Helt, and then the emergence of Jaheim Lawson. If you don't know who Jaheim Lawson is, you're going to find out probably in this game. Jaheim is really improved and progressed. And so I just think that, they're going to be much better on defense than they have been in the past, where they were last year. And keep in mind, Alex, a lot of these players, these guys that they talk about going to go pro on the Clemson defense, and we'll get to your second one here second. They were on a deep. Most of them started on a defense that was top 10 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a top 10 defense 2 years ago. And despite all those things we just mentioned, they were much better 2 years ago. And so I think, we know it's there. We've seen it. That's the difference. And everybody's like, well, what about LSU? And by the way, I think LSU, with Mr. Harold Perkins coming back off injury, that guy's a beast. He's going to be a monster. Joining the Weeks brothers at linebacker. I think their linebackers are outstanding.
Me too.
But LSU's defense last year was not good. And they've made some changes and did a couple things. We'll see, just like Clemson, if they can turn it around. The difference is we've seen the potential in Clemson's defense. These same players were on a top 10 defense a couple of years ago. Yeah. So we've seen it with Clemson. They just didn't live up to expectations last year. So now do we see them get back on track with the new coach and, doing things better, going back to their fundamentals, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. And that brings me to my second key. Kind of give me a perfect segue and played spoiler a little bit on key number 2. Key number 2 is pressure. I feel like that goes without saying with against the new look of offensive line in a loud environment. But another thing I put on here was, I think that LSU is going to scheme some things to maybe, try to limit TJ Parker and Peter Woods. And the two guys that I put to look out for are Jaheim Lawson and Will Helt. I think it's a coming out party for those guys. I think they're being overlooked. I think they're going to have a chip when they're in the game. And I think they're going to be able to make a huge difference. I mean, LSU is going to use the tight ends. They're going to use the running backs to try to contain Parker off the edge and Woods as much as they can. But I'd look out for that other edge to make a huge difference for Clemson.
I'm going to give you a different angle, and I'm going to give you 5 names to look out for.
Let's go. 5 names. They're going to give us half the team.
They're going to bring, because the way they rotate them.
Yeah.
Clemson, yes, I understand what you're talking about. Getting pressure on the edges is huge. But any quarterback, the key is to get him off his spot. And so if you pressure outside, a quarterback can still step up and stay on his spot and do what he needs to do. And if you watch Garrett Nussmeier and you watch how he plays, he's a lot like Joe Burrow and how he moves in the pocket. He slides, he moves, he stays where he needs to without having to leave that pocket and gets the ball out. Okay. And he's quick release. He's a really good quarterback. And if he's got time, he's going to pick you apart, and he's dangerous.
And he's going to get his in this game, too.
But what do you do to any quarterback? You put pressure up the middle. I don't care if you're Tom Brady. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes. If you pressure a quarterback up the middle and you get him off his spot, it's going to mess him up. And that's the key for Clemson. They have to get him off his spot in passing situations. And now one thing he's really good at is the RPO game. And that Clemson's got to be paying attention with that, because he's really good at reading the defense, reading what a corner's doing, reading what the safety's doing, and getting that ball out quickly. So, got to keep that in mind too. But the 5 names: Peter Woods, DeMonte Capehart, Vic Burley, Stephylon Green, and Amir Adams. Watch those 5 interior guys on Clemson's. They're really good. Those 5 guys are as good as anybody in the country in the middle of a defense. It ain't just Peter Woods. It's those other guys, those other 4 guys I mentioned too. And they bring them in waves, and they make sure they stay fresh. Clemson getting pressure up the middle is going to be very key in this game. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Third key, this is the only one I have for the offense. Run the damn football. That's my key. I mean, that's my key. Adam Randall and Cade Klubnik need to run the dang football. You got to keep LSU honest on defense. And if you keep LSU honest on defense, then Cade's going to be able to pick them apart. I mean, with all those weapons at receiver, if you're able to keep them honest running the ball, it's going to be a good day for Clemson.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is a good one. I'm going to throw out another one that's good. And we just talked about Garrett Nussmeier and how they got to get him off his spot, right? Well, LSU is going to try to do the same thing to Cade Klubnik. Now, the difference is Cade Klubnik's a mobile guy. And so he can get outside the pocket. And as we saw against Texas, we saw against Virginia Tech, we saw against in a lot of situations last year, the Pitt game, Klubnik can get outside the pocket and still make plays with his arm and his feet. What I say with Cade, though, is Cade's got to be smart with the football. He doesn't need to run back too far back where he puts himself in a situation where he gets a large sack, right? He's got to be smart with the football in all aspects, because Garrett Riley rather be calling a play 3rd and 10 than 3rd and 16, or 3rd and 17. So he's got to be smart with it when he's trying to make a play. And that's who he is. It's his nature. And he makes more big plays than he doesn't, right? And so, but even on those situations when he doesn't, maybe throw the ball away. Get 2nd and 10, go 3rd and 10, right? Or just live to punt the ball. Sometimes kicking the ball is good, right? So do those kind of things. That's what K. Klubnik needs to do. He needs to play smart. If he does that, then Clemson, because LSU's going to pressure him. Like I said, I just mentioned that their linebackers are as good as anybody Clemson's going to see all year. Dabo Swinney was talking about that today, and so they're going to pressure him. He's going to get off his spot. K. Klubnik has to do what he did last year, which make very good, decisive decisions with the football. The only time he didn't last year was that game against South Carolina, and when he was trying to drive the ball, and he had Clemson in field goal range, but he was just trying to do too much and win the game, and he was indecisive, finally threw the ball. Phil Maffa wasn't ready for it. We know the rest of the story. He can't do that. He can't do that in this game. He's got to make good decisions the entire game.
Absolutely. And another reason I mentioned the run game is, everybody talks about how bad Clemson was against the run last year. LSU wasn't good against the run either. And that's an area Clemson has to exploit in order to get things moving in the pass game.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to try to test the running game early, as you should, because that's football. That's
especially week one with all the juice that's flowing in this game.
Everybody's talking about the quarterbacks. Let's come out there and run it, guys. Yeah, let's see who can hit each other in the mouth and how they respond. Both teams are going to try it. Who wins that battle, then how does the other team respond? That's something to kind of watch early in the game. But, it's football, man. You start with the running game. I don't care what people say.
It doesn't matter how much the game changes. The more the game changes, the more it stays the same. Mm-hmm. What was the most important thing in the NFL for football teams last year against, these two high safeties? Running the dang football. The best player in the NFL, in my opinion, last year was Saquon Barkley. And it's because of the way he ran the football.
Who won the Super Bowl last year? It was the Eagles. They were a running team. And so, the passing team doesn't always win the Super Bowl. Most of the time it doesn't. Generally, a team who passes the ball runs the ball very well too.
Yep.
Because it goes hand in hand. Because only one good thing happens when you throw the football, and a lot of bad things happen when you throw the football.
100%.
So, Alex, let's go ahead and get with our pick six here before we get out of here tonight. Got some ACC games mixed in here. You got some SEC games mixed in here. We got ACC and SEC mixed in here. So
we got a Big Ten team in here.
We got a Big Ten
independent. We got everything.
Let's go, man. What do we got?
All right. We'll do Clemson LSU last
on
this list. Just to give you guys a little bit more suspense and something else to hang on for. We're going to start on Thursday. I said we got a little bit of everything on this list. Thursday night, Boise State is a 5.5-point favorite at USF.
High flying, big sky. I don't know. Big mountain. What is Boise
Mountain
State?
West.
Mountain West. There we go. Big mountain.
But they're moving to the Pac-12 next year or whatever that is.
Oh, Boise State. That's right. They are going to the Pac-12 next year. Yeah, it's still called the Pac-12. Yeah. They're going to keep the name. It's like Cracker Barrel. Anyway,
which they are keeping the name, keeping the logo. They reverse course today. I feel like I can go to Cracker Barrel.
They're keeping the name and the logo.
Yes, name and the logo. They're bringing the Cracker and the Barrel back.
Well, you know what? Good for Cracker Barrel for admitting they were stupid. And they finally did admit they heard from their constituents. Anyway, we won't get into that. But as a former Cracker Barrel employee, I'm glad to hear it. So anyway, Boise State minus 5.5 at UCF.
USF.
Sorry.
I've got Boise State with the points, even though I know absolutely nothing about them because their only great player from last year is gone in Genty. But I'm taking Boise State with the points.
My question is this: when's the last time South Florida been any good? Right.
That's my question.
Yeah, it's been a while, and so when I say good, I mean they were really good there for a while. Like when they beat Clemson up in the bowl game, the Meineke Car Care Bowl back in the day. Remember, they were a pretty good football program then. But they haven't been lately. And I'm with you. I'm gonna go ahead and take Boise State minus the 5.5.
The next game we got here is on Friday night. One that a lot of people in my neck of the woods are excited about. Georgia Tech, and I don't know if they'll be as excited about afterwards.
I'm looking forward to this game. I'm anxious to see how good Georgia Tech is.
Me too. And Georgia Tech is a 4.5-point favorite at Colorado, Folsom Field, and Boulder. The primetime effect is still going on. It's going to be a packed house.
Man, we're finally settling the 1990 co-national champion.
Come on.
Georgia Tech was the coaches' national champion that year, and Colorado was the AP national champion. It really kind of got the debate really, really going during that era. And then I think a couple years later, I think Miami and Washington, the very next year, 1991, Miami and Washington did the same thing. But here we are. We get to settle some of it on the field here. Finally,
we are 35 years
later, man. By the way, that Clemson team that year in 1990, that was Ken Hatfield's first year. They played Georgia Tech, and Chris Gordacki missed a 63-yard field goal by like 5 yards, and Clemson would have won the game 22-21. They lost 21-19. Before that play, though, Clemson was called for an illegal procedure penalty that pushed the ball back 5 yards. Ouch. That was the story of that season for Clemson. They lost 2 games and probably should have won both, to be honest with you. But they just, anyway, I digress. Georgia Tech, though, 4.5, minus 4.5 at Colorado. Man, I like Georgia Tech. I like this football team. I know Brett Key came out here a few weeks ago, and he's like, oh, we're the worst football team in America. Well, what do you expect him to say? He's trying to motivate his team. He's saying that intentionally because he knows he's got a pretty doggone good team, and he wants them to make sure they stay humble and that they're ready to play when they go to Colorado and play a brand-new Colorado team that doesn't have Shedeur Sanders because now he's playing for the ugly Cleveland Browns, and they don't have Travis Hunter, who's now starting at wide receiver and cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so they also lost some other key pieces. And this is a brand new team for Deion Sanders. It's going to be interesting to see how good they look without those missing pieces. Georgia Tech is bringing everybody back, including Haynes King, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, in my opinion, one of the best football players in the country, in my opinion. And then they got a linebacker on the other side who is a football player, is the epitome of a football player.
Their whole team is the epitome of football players.
Yes, they are.
That's why I love Georgia Tech so much. I mean, it could be like me being completely fooled.
No, I don't think you are.
Man, they just look like a football team, man.
Alex, give me Georgia Tech minus the 4.5.
Yeah, I'll take them too. I like the Yellow Jackets in this game for all the reasons we just said. Colorado didn't know who their quarterback was going to be until today. They announced who their starter was going to be, the transfer from Liberty. And I like Georgia Tech a lot in this game.
Same here, buddy. Same here. All right, what do we got next, Alex?
Next, we're moving to Saturday. Big noon kickoff. Texas at Ohio State.
Oh, here's the question. Are we going to be able to watch it big noon, though? I got YouTube TV.
I'm going to be big ticked off if I can't watch the game because I got YouTube TV too. And Ohio State's a 2.5-point favorite over the Arch Manning-led go ahead and crown him with the Heisman Trophy and put a national championship trophy in his hand, Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this game because Texas has got the overall better roster.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, but Ohio State is Ohio State. They just reload every year, right? I mean, they very rarely, I mean, seriously. One time out of the last 20-something years where they haven't won 10 games. I mean, other than that, they win 10 games every year. They just reload. And, they lost their quarterback and they lost some running backs. And there's some question marks there. They got a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new defensive coordinator. I know there's a lot of new, but it's at Ohio State. Texas, though, I know Manning just doesn't got to screw it up, dude. Texas has got one of the best defensive fronts in college football. They got an outstanding defense. They got a running game. They got probably 2 of the best running backs collectively in the country on the same team. Give me Texas plus the 2.5. Texas goes up there and they get a win.
Not so fast, my friend. In honor of our good friend of College Football League, Corso, who's retiring this weekend, I got Ohio State with the points here. It's in Columbus. I don't know if Arch Manning is ready for the moment. I don't know if Julian Sayin is for Ohio State either, but all you got to do is just toss the ball out to those guys. If you can get it to them, they're going to score. And like you mentioned, Ohio State, they just retool every year. Now, I don't know if Ohio State's going to be a national champion or a semifinalist or anything like that, but I feel pretty good about them winning this game by at least a field goal at home.
All right, so you're going to mean that's when we mean you differ on that one. Who else we got?
The next one that we have on Saturday, and again, we're doing Clemson last. The next one we have is Alabama at Florida State. Alabama is a 13.5-point favorite in Tallahassee on Saturday.
13.5-point favorite, brand new quarterback, and they don't have their starting running back. And they didn't run the ball very well last year. That's what people don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, outside of their quarterback, they didn't run the football with the snot.
Yeah.
They just didn't. I think their best running back had like 300 yards all season.
And the whole year, they just looked bleh.
Yeah, they did.
Whole year.
They did. And so everybody's like thinking Alabama's going to be this good team. I think Alabama's the most overrated team in the country.
I do too.
I think Alabama, they're not going to be this year's Florida State in the sense of going 2-10, but they're going to be this year's Florida State that I don't think they're top 10.
Yeah.
And so with that said, gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Give me the Seminoles in an upset.
You think they're going to win straight up?
They're going to win straight up.
Wow. So I'm not as bold to say they're going to win straight up.
I think when you look at a new quarterback.
Well, this is also the first time Florida State's had like a full stadium in 2 years.
I mean, who you going to take at quarterback? You're going to take their guy. Help me out. They just named him a starter. You're going to take their guy. You're going to take
Ty Simpson.
Yeah, you're going to take
for Alabama.
You're going to take what's his name, the Boston College transfer.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you going to take?
I mean, I know what he's bringing to the table. And dang it, if he hadn't been talking about it. I'm
taking Tommy. That's who I'm taking. And he's going out there with a little bit of swag, right? Because he's like, and his teammates, I give him credit.
Yeah, Castellanos,
they had his back. His teammates took his back at the ACC media. His coaches, his teammates, they all owned it. They're like, yeah, we're going to go. We got his back. We're going to get it. Give me Florida State, man. I know it sounds crazy. Give me Florida State. I think they win it straight up.
Well, you're not getting a bonus point if they do, but you get the point for the cover. But I got Florida State, covering that 2 touchdowns. I just to say that Alabama goes in with Ty Simpson and beats them by 2 touchdowns. I find that hard to believe. I don't see it. So I got Florida State with the points.
I'm with you. I don't think Simpson comes in there and beats them, and no running game.
Yeah, I mean Alabama may very well win the football game. I'm not going to be that bold, but I just don't see a 2 touchdown game. I mean, 2 score game there, no way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So the last one I got here before
Clemson,
we give our Clemson. You're going to give a prop or a spread, and I'm going to give a score. The last one we got for the weekend, other than that, is Notre Dame at Miami. Notre Dame, a 2.5-point favorite in the renewal of the rivalry.
Miami starting a brand new freshman quarterback at Miami.
Notre Dame. You mean Notre Dame?
I mean Notre Dame. Yeah, going to start in a brand new quarterback, freshman quarterback on the road. Catholics versus the cons. Catholics versus convicts, I guess, is the way the T-shirt reads. I watched that again. That's one of the best 30 for 30s ever.
Oh yeah,
I just enjoyed that one every time I watch it. But Notre Dame's got one of the best defenses in the country. Miami, I don't know what's their defense going to be like. There's a secondary that was a problem last year. They said they fixed it, but it's like you just talked about. They're new people, new continuity. We don't know what they're like. But are they going to even be in play, though? Because we're talking about a freshman quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So are they even going to be in play? Golly, I don't know.
I know, this one sucks. This is the worst one on the list for me.
But I'm going to go this way. Miami does have a veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
And now they got question marks at wide receiver. Who's he throwing the ball to and all? I don't know, but he's got a good offensive line. He's a veteran quarterback. He's at home. And it's going to be sold out. It's because, it's Miami, Notre Dame. They're going to sell that place out. Give me Miami plus the 2.5.
And, honestly, it was a real flip of the coin for me. But just given the history of you, when you pick Miami, they
always let me
suck.
down.
They suck. You picked them, so Carson Beck's throwing like 17 interceptions and
And being
fumbling the
benched.
ball and quitting and getting benched at halftime. But that's not actually why I've got Notre Dame. I've got Notre Dame because they're going to run the ball. They got the best running back in the country,
They do.
arguably, in Jeremiah Love, and I think Marcus Freeman. I'm sure he's talked about it all offseason, how important this game is, how important it is to get off to a good start. That's something he has not been able to do with his Notre Dame teams, is get off to good starts. But I think they're going to do it on Sunday in Miami.
If this game was in South Bend, it'd be a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I'd
in
take
South
Notre Dame
Bend,
every
I
day.
mean, if it's in South Bend, I think Notre Dame's like a 6.5, 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, with that defense and running game, absolutely. But I'm nervous with a freshman quarterback in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And it's only a 2.5-point spread. So that's home team as a 2.5-point underdog. It tells me to take the home team.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm for it. Last but not least, the one you've all been waiting for. Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite right now on FanDuel. That line has moved a little bit over LSU. A couple stats here before we make our picks. 52% of the money is on LSU, and 62% of bets, overall spread bets, are on LSU in this game as well. I thought that was kind of interesting, and that shows why that spread went down about a point.
Yeah, because it was at 4 earlier.
Yeah, this is closer to what it opened at.
Mm-hmm.
It opened at like 2.5 or 3, and it moved all the way up to 4.5.
Which tells me it's going to move again.
That tells me there will be some more movement today.
Yep.
Will, what you got?
All right, but right now we're taking it at 3.5, but the over and under is 57.5.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the points here, the 57.5. I'm going to go ahead and say take the under on the points. I think it's going to be just a little bit below the 57.5. So I'm going to say take the under there.
There you go. I'm going to give you a score. And
by the way, the reason I can't pick it is because I can't pick the score till Saturday when I'm on the radio. So that's why I can't pick the score, in case people are wondering out there.
So you can tune into the Tiger pregame show Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Me and Qualk will be at the
Burton Gallery
there at Little John Coliseum. Come by and see us. All right, go ahead, Alex.
So I actually, doing some math here, my score is over, but I would stay the hell away from the over-under in this game. Over-under's week 1. Unless you're taking it under, I wouldn't do it. I've got Clemson winning this game 34-24. I think Clemson's
just over,
a tick over. And I think I didn't even look at the over-under before I did this. I looked at it after, and I was like, I see what they're doing.
They're on the same page as you, it sounds like.
They're on the same page as me. I think it's going to be a close game early. It's a big game. That's how these things tend to go. And I think Clemson's going to find a little breathing room in the second half and kind of play some keep away. I think that's the way it's going to go in the second half. So we'll see how it is.
Man, I think you're right as far as how you're talking about how things could go. Again, we go back to Clemson's defensive line against LSU's offensive line. That's the story of the game.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that is going to win the game. That's what's going to happen. You have a turnover here or there. Obviously, it's going to play a big role in this game. So we'll see, man. Turnovers are a big key in first games, right? Because
100%.
And
crazy stuff happens in first games.
It does. And here's a thing to keep in mind: Clemson's got a brand new punter in this game, and that's going to be interesting. I think that's got a lot of Clemson people nervous. Somebody out there punting for the first time in front of 80,000 people. It's not like practice. A little different than practice.
It's good to be nervous about the punter, though. If you're nervous about the punter, that usually means you probably got a pretty good football team if you're worried about the punter.
Right. Yeah, it's true. True on that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us, man.
Well, I do have one more thing. One more thing. Clemson men's soccer puts a licking on South Carolina 4-1 at historic Riggs Field in front of a packed house. So the athletic calendar year is off to a great start in Tigertown.
Good way to go, Mike Noonan and the two-time national champion Clemson Tigers soccer team, 4 times technically, but 2 times under Coach Noonan. So, awesome stuff there as they get a 4-1 victory over rival South. What's that, Alex? 9 in a row now since they've won 8 of the last 9, and they're 8-0-1 in those 9 games against South Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. How
And they
about that?
scored a bunch of goals
Yeah.
in those games. It's
Now
amazing how good they can be when all the players get to play on the field at the end of the game.
And by the way, first point goes to the Palmetto Cup series. They do, right? Goes to Clemson. So Clemson's trying to get it back this year after the Gamecocks just basically stomped on their heads last year by winning football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and football last year. So what was it like? They won the first 4 events or something like that?
Oh yeah, they like won it before spring even started.
Yeah,
it was like
ridiculous.
dominant fall for the Chickens last year.
It was. By the way, speaking of the Chickens, they play. South Carolina will play, and Atlanta will play Virginia Tech in the I guess what do they call that classic over there? The Aflac kickoff classic over there. So that's on Sunday afternoon, right? Sunday afternoon. Yeah. So we get some football on Sunday to watch too. Look forward to that. That'll be before the Notre Dame Miami game, I guess. So look forward to watching that too as well, and we'll see what happens there. I would say good luck to our brethren in Columbia, but I'm not going to do that. It's called Believe in Clemson for a reason, and we're going to keep it there. Anyway, so with that said, for Alex Dodd, I'm Will Vandervoort. We appreciate you watching us. We'll talk to you next time on Believe in Clemson.